Rumors suggest a raw confrontation after the Steelers game. And whatever happened inside that tunnel rolled through the roster, the stands, and straight onto social media in minutes. After another night of turnovers and miscommunication, sources say Dillon Gabriel limped off and tried the usual rally lines. Then Shedeur Sanders stepped up, calm, direct, and brutal in its simplicity. The process is broken. That wasn't a quarterback temper tantrum. Teammates who've seen it all reportedly described it as a leadership declaration, the kind of quiet confidence that lands harder than a shouted insult. Within minutes, the mood in that room changed. Players texted agents. Veterans who normally keep their heads down allegedly nodded in private. Rumors claim a power shift was triggered. It didn't stop there. A sideline clip, an opposing star pointing toward the Browns bench and then at Shedeur, exploded online and turned a locker room whisper into a national talking point. Fans who already bought Shedeur jerseys started chanting his name pregame. Social posts comparing his preseason tape to Gabriel's in-season turnover streak spread like wildfire. When a single gesture becomes a meme, public pressure stops being optional. It becomes a force. Ownership reportedly reacted fast. Sources claim Jimmy Haslam called an emergency meeting with Kevin Stefanski and the front office. Frustration is said to be bubbling over. Not just at a quarterback choice, but at an organizational pattern. The question now is as much about leadership and accountability as it is about who should throw the ball on Sundays. Numbers matter here. Gabriel's turnovers and low completion rate are being weighed against Shedeur's preseason poise and the narrative of an electrifying, marketable young talent. That contrast fuels the chants, the locker room whispers, and the thinly veiled demands for a change. But let's be clear. Reports suggest this is still unfolding and decisions, like a mid-season switch, carry real risks. So what comes next? Expect a few things to happen quickly. Practice reps will be scrutinized. Every press conference will be parsed for hidden meaning. And the next home game could turn into a referendum. If fans turn loud enough, and if veterans quietly align behind a different leader, the front office may be forced into a move they hoped to avoid. This is more than a quarterback controversy. It's a leadership crisis that tests coaching judgment, ownership patience, and a locker room's tolerance for the status quo. Whether Stefanski adapts or doubles down could define not only his season, but his career in Cleveland. And Shedeur? He's suddenly not just a future possibility. He's part of a very public moment that could accelerate his timeline. Want the next section where we break down the exact timeline, the key tweets that lit the fuse, and a play-by-play of the confrontation, as reported? Should I write that next? When the final whistle blew in Pittsburgh, the scoreboard didn't just show another Browns loss. It showed a breaking point. The locker room, normally a place for routine post-game chatter, went quiet. Then, according to insiders, everything changed. Dillon Gabriel sat in his corner, helmet on, head down. Across the room, Shedeur Sanders stood up. Not loud, not angry, but steady. Players nearby say he looked Gabriel right in the eye and said, "We can't keep pretending this is working." That one sentence hit harder than any tackle that night. It wasn't disrespect. It was accountability. Shedeur didn't rant. He didn't curse. He just stated what everyone already felt but hadn't dared to say. Reports suggest a few veterans nodded, while others shifted uneasily, realizing the dynamic in the room had just shifted. For months, players had tiptoed around the quarterback question, afraid of stirring drama. But after that game, the silence shattered. A source close to the team described the moment as a line in the sand. Gabriel, who'd been struggling with timing and protection all night, reportedly tried to diffuse the tension with a joke, but no one laughed. The offense knew they'd hit a wall, and for the first time, they had someone willing to call it out. By the time players left the stadium, word had already leaked to reporters. Posts popped up online claiming Shedeur challenged the starter. Fan pages ran with it, spinning the story into something bigger. Shedeur versus Gabriel. Whether or not it was a heated exchange, the perception was set. The locker room wanted change. And the truth? Cleveland's coaching staff could feel it too. Insiders say even Kevin Stefanski noticed the energy shift in team meetings the next morning. For a franchise built on controlled messaging, this moment broke through the walls. The players weren't just following the script anymore. They were rewriting it. What began as whispers inside the locker room turned into a full-blown storm the moment one sideline clip hit social media. The video, just 8 seconds long, showed Jalen Ramsey glancing toward the Browns bench, pointing directly at Shedeur Sanders, then shaking his head in disbelief. No words were captured, but none were needed. The internet did the rest. Within an hour, captions like "Ramsey telling Cleveland to play Shedeur" and even opponents see it were flooding timelines. By the next morning, the clip had millions of views. Sports accounts reposted it with dramatic edits. Fans added fire emojis and slow-motion replays. And suddenly, a single gesture turned into a nationwide statement. What might have been a random sideline moment became the symbol of a growing movement. The push to bench Dillon Gabriel and give Shedeur his shot. Local Cleveland stations picked up the noise first, reporting that fans at practice were chanting Shedeur's name before warm-ups even started. Then came the viral fan signs. #Let Shedeur cook, play the Prince, and Haslam hear the crowd. The chants grew louder during pre-game warm-ups, echoing across the stadium before kickoff. For Shedeur, it was surreal. Those close to him say he stayed focused, brushing off the social media frenzy, but the spark was already lit. The team's PR department scrambled to control the narrative, insisting there was no quarterback controversy. But fans weren't buying it. Not when videos of Shedeur dropping perfect passes in practice drills were circulating next to Gabriel's shaky game clips. Even NFL insiders began weighing in. Analysts on national networks debated whether Cleveland was wasting Shedeur's momentum, while former players openly questioned why a rookie with that much poise was being held back. It was no longer a conversation. It was a campaign. And for head coach Kevin Stefanski, the noise became impossible to ignore. Every practice rep, every press conference, every hesitation now felt like a headline waiting to happen. The clip that was supposed to fade away had instead poured gasoline on Cleveland's quarterback fire, and the city was just getting warmed up. When that viral clip reached Cleveland's front office, everything changed overnight. According to team insiders, what started as a minor social buzz quickly escalated into a full-scale internal crisis. Phones were ringing non-stop, reporters were calling for statements, and Jimmy Haslam, the Browns' fiery, unpredictable owner, wasn't about to let the noise go unanswered. By midnight, a closed-door meeting was reportedly called at the facility. The topic? What to do about Shedeur Sanders. Sources claim Haslam's frustration had been building for weeks. He'd already questioned Kevin Stefanski's judgment for sticking with Dillon Gabriel despite back-to-back offensive meltdowns. Now, with Shedeur trending nationally and fans literally chanting his name, patience ran out. One insider put it bluntly: Haslam feels embarrassed. The team looks blind while the fans look right. Stefanski, meanwhile, was said to be visibly tense. He defended his approach, citing development timelines and system familiarity. But those excuses didn't land well. The analytics department reportedly presented data showing how Shedeur's preseason reads, velocity, and pressure response ranked higher than Gabriel's current season performance. The numbers didn't lie, and neither did the atmosphere. Even assistant coaches, privately, began to admit what the fans already knew. Shedeur looked ready. The meeting ended without an official decision, but the message was clear. The leash on Stefanski and Gabriel just got a lot shorter. Haslam left the room demanding accountability and results. Words that in Cleveland often precede massive shakeups. By sunrise, whispers of the meeting had leaked to local reporters. Talk radio hosts had a field day, and the storyline shifted from fan hype to ownership pressure. ESPN panels began speculating about organizational dysfunction, and suddenly, every camera pointed at Cleveland felt like a spotlight, searching for cracks. Inside team headquarters, morale was tense. Gabriel kept his head down, but even he couldn't ignore the shift. Players were walking on eggshells. Coaches were checking their phones every hour. And Shedeur? He just showed up, helmet in hand, same quiet confidence, ready to work. Because while the franchise scrambled, Shedeur Sanders didn't have to say a word. The entire NFL was already talking for him. It's not just hype. The numbers tell the story. Inside the Browns organization, the comparison between Shedeur Sanders and Dillon Gabriel has quietly become the most uncomfortable conversation in Cleveland. On one side, you have Gabriel, the so-called quarterback. Safe choice, a third-round pick who fits the mold of a traditional quarterback. On the other, Shedeur Sanders, a fifth-round rookie who plays with swagger, composure, and precision beyond his years. The difference? One is surviving. The other looks like he's built to win. Gabriel's stat line through 4 games reads like a cautionary tale. 9 turnovers, a 54% completion rate, and an offense averaging barely 12 points per game. Every drive feels like a coin flip. Flashes of rhythm followed by instant collapse. Insiders say the coaching staff still praises his leadership, but players see something else: hesitation, overthinking, and a man visibly drowning under pressure. Even the offensive line, reportedly frustrated with constant audibles and missed reads, has started losing faith. Now, contrast that with Shedeur. During preseason action, he didn't just look good, he looked composed. 0 interceptions on 87 attempts, smooth pocket awareness, and a calm, surgical efficiency that made even veteran defenders stop and stare. One assistant coach admitted privately, he doesn't play like a rookie. He plays like someone who's been watching film since birth. It's not just mechanics, it's mentality. Shedeur brings a confidence that fuels his teammates instead of dividing them. He reads defenses in real time, adjusts without panic, and turns broken plays into opportunities. Even during practice scrimmages, players say the energy changes the moment he takes a snap. When he's in there, one source said, it just feels different, like we're actually in control. For Cleveland fans who've endured decades of quarterback chaos, the contrast feels too obvious to ignore. One is fighting to stay afloat, the other is quietly waiting to take over. And the more Gabriel struggles, the louder those chants grow. Because if the Browns truly care about results, not reputation, the answer under center isn't complicated anymore. It's inevitable. Cleveland has reached a breaking point. What started as friendly fan chants has evolved into an undeniable power struggle, one that could redefine the Browns' season, their leadership, and possibly Kevin Stefanski's career. Everyone inside the building feels it. The tension isn't just about who takes the next snap. It's about pride, politics, and the perception that Cleveland might be fumbling its future right in front of the world. If Shedeur Sanders doesn't start soon, the noise could drown out the season before it even begins. Players are already picking sides, fans are restless, and ownership is desperate to avoid another year of wasted potential. According to one insider, Jimmy Haslam sees Shedeur as his pick, the player he wanted to prove he could scout better than his own staff. That alone makes this situation combustible. Because if Stefanski refuses to make the switch, it won't just look like bad judgment, it'll look like defiance. And Haslam doesn't. Forgive defiance. On the other hand, if the Browns turn to Shedeur and he performs, even decently, the entire narrative flips overnight. Haslam looks like a visionary. The fans get their hero, And Cleveland finally gets a quarterback who can energize the franchise beyond its usual mediocrity. But if Shedeur struggles early, the critics will come harder than ever, labeling it a rushed move born from hype and desperation. Either way, there's no going back. The chants, the headlines, the viral clips, they've created momentum that can't be silenced with press conferences or coach speak. Stefanski's job now hangs on every offensive drive, and Gabriel's future as QB1 looks shakier by the day. The fans have already made up their minds. The owner has drawn his line in the sand, and in the middle of it all stands Shedeur Sanders, calm, patient, and quietly ready to seize his moment. Because when the dust finally settles, one truth will remain. You can't contain a storm that's already big.